This is why I hate dealing with subcontractors who are poor. They're hardly of any use to society. They come up with excuses right away. Why don't you just leave? I'll tell the president you were here.
Those words had the sharpness to sever one's patience. I could practically hear a snap in my mind. This is too much. I might actually hit her. Sensing danger, I had my head down to hide myself. I didn't want her to see my face. It must be terrible right now. Thank you for having me today. I am Michael Sanders, the owner of a small company that manufactures auto parts, and I am 46 years old. We are a small company with less than 30 employees. Our company is full of seasoned employees, all boasting about their poor health and saying, "We're getting old." Yet, they are dedicated to get the job done when needed, and I rely on them. Our industry might seem outdated, but I still believe there's value in making things by hand. The world is moving towards AI and automation, but there are still industries that can't go that route. However, some of our business partners harbor a disdain for folks like us who get our hands dirty. Today, Bob Johnson, the president of another company, came for an inspection. He was the person who has been doing business with us since my father's time. We're close. He used to take me out drinking back in the day. His company specializes in servicing and selling foreign cars. There's a big market of wealthy folks who love foreign cars, and the profits per car are huge because of the high-value transactions. The downside is that repairs and maintenance can be a real hassle. It's hard to maintain cars when parts are not mass-produced, are no longer sold, or can't be imported. Therefore, there are times when we have to make parts from scratch. That's where our company comes in, using our skills to create substitute parts for these cars. In short, my company and Bob's company are inseparable. Bob, thank you for coming today.
No, I should be thanking you. The part you made last time was great. The customer was very satisfied.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm happy to be of service.
I have a new part today. Could you take a look and see if it's doable?
Leave it to me. After exchanging greetings with the president, I noticed a woman standing behind him. She looked to be in her 40s, with a well-composed face and suited for the black outfit she was wearing. I thought he might have hired a new secretary, but when Bob noticed my gaze, he waved his hand lightly.
My wife is here today, but don't worry about that.
Your wife? Bob, you got married. It was a complete surprise. The president had just lost his wife last month, and I had no idea he had remarried so soon. Bob, congratulations. I didn't realize she was your wife, but you should have told me. That's kind of sneaky of you.
Thanks, but let's get to the deal.
The president seemed a bit withdrawn. He had a look on his face like he didn't want to talk about it. I was concerned about his pallor, but I knew it was necessary to greet her properly. I've always been grateful to your husband. I'm Michael, and before I could reach out for a handshake, his wife said,
No need. I'm not interested in subcontractors.
Not interested in subcontractors. I was stunned by her bluntness. I can't believe there's someone who would say something like that so boldly.
Let it go. She's not interested in cars. Rather than that, I have a process I want to see. Show me around.
Was there something offensive in my tone? It bothered me a bit. But in front of such an important client, I couldn't afford to show a troubled expression. I quickly changed my expression and responded. After I had explained about the part manufacturing to some extent, and we were taking a break, Bob muttered,
Marriage is a tricky business, isn't it?
He spoke in a low voice, making sure his wife couldn't hear. She seemed unaware, passing time on her smartphone. I matched my voice to his quiet tone. She seems very strong-willed. Are you whipped by her?
It's not like that.
He sighed, as if drained.
It's tough. It's fine that she takes pride in her work, but pushing that on others is wrong. Like her attitude earlier. She values status and power too much, and it shows blatantly when she knows she's in a higher position.
I see. That explains the greeting earlier.
Yes, I had informed her beforehand that you are an important business partner, but it didn't help. Making her my secretary was a mistake. I'd appreciate it if you don't think badly of her.
I felt sympathy for the president, who looked genuinely distressed. His wife, oblivious to our conversation, then spoke up.
Shall we wrap this up and head back? I can't stand the smell here. It's getting on me.
Would you stop, Catherine? That's rude. How many times do I have to tell you?
A tense atmosphere began to build between the president and his wife. Sensing this, I prompted the president. You seem very busy, Bob. Thank you for today. I've got a good grasp of the requirements, so I'll send the details over later in data form.
Sorry about this. All right, I'll let our mechanic know.
With that, the couple left. His wife remained disengaged from me until the end, leaving a rather poor impression. I thought troubles with one's wife were someone else's problem, but it seems they're mine instead. A few days later, I received a phone call.
What's going on? The documents you sent and the parts ordered are completely different.
That shouldn't be the case. The request document I received yesterday should have the right model number. An angry voice burst through the phone. As I responded while reviewing the documents left by the president, his wife was furious and wouldn't listen to my apologies or explanations.
If you're not diligent about your work, please don't take any more orders. We can find someone else to rely on besides subcontractors like you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Could I please speak with the president to verify the details?
My husband is currently meeting with an important client. Please call back later.
They called me, yet I have to call back. I learned from the president, but the bias his wife holds against us turned out to be more severe than I imagined. Honestly, I never want to speak with her again. Later, the president called to apologize. According to him, the mistake was his wife's misunderstanding. Unfamiliar with cars, she had called me on her own without checking anything. The president apologized, but his wife did not. Despite feeling bad for him, I didn't want to be involved anymore. A few days later, I received another call from the president.
I'm really sorry about the other day. As a way to apologize, we're having a networking event soon. Would you like to come? Some peers and a few customers will be there. It could be a great opportunity for you.
Thank you. I'd love to attend. I was invited by the president to a networking event. It was an opportunity I couldn't miss. It could lead to acquiring new clients, so there was no reason to refuse. However, there was one concern. That day, I'm scheduled to be on site working on development with our employees. I'll be working right up until the last minute, so I'll likely be in my work clothes. Is that okay?
That's fine. There's no dress code, so you don't need to be in a suit. You can even bring others along. I'd like your employees to join as well.
Thank you, Bob. They'll be pleased to hear that. On the day of the event, after completing the ordered parts, we headed to the venue still in our work clothes. The event was held in a high-rise building. Several employees were excited about this rare opportunity.
Is it really okay for workers like us to come?
It's fine. The president himself said he wanted us to take advantage of his invitation. I'll be mingling for business, so help yourselves to the food.
Well, that's generous. Truly. It's different when you're dealing with a profitable company.
Just don't eat too much and cause a scene. My words were met with laughter by the employees. Being able to give back to the employees I rely on daily made this networking event invaluable. To me, my employees are like family, and I'm always concerned about their well-being. I hope this event would serve as a token of my appreciation. However, just as my employees and I were about to enter, we were approached. It was Catherine, Bob's wife. It was the worst timing for our encounter.
What kind of attire is this? Please stop. It's inappropriate.
She seemed to dislike our work attire, but at this point, not going in would render Bob's invitation meaningless. Somehow, I needed to get Catherine to understand and let us in. I'm sorry. Due to work, we could only come in our work clothes, which I had informed the president about beforehand. Could you possibly overlook our attire?
I cannot. Important people are here today. It's not good for my husband to be associated with people who look as shabby as you do, especially in such large numbers. It's simply unreasonable.
Catherine's harsh tone intimidated the employees who had come with me.
Michael, it's okay. She's right. We shouldn't disturb the event dressed like this.
Yeah, maybe we should wait outside. Please go in and say hello on behalf of us.
My employees were trying to be considerate. What have they done to deserve this? They've worked hard for our clients. Why should we be treated this way? I couldn't tolerate Catherine demeaning those who are like family to me. Excuse me, but I'd like you to correct this.
What?
These men are like family to me. They've taken on unreasonable requests from clients today and have worked diligently to meet them. Please retract your comment about their honorable work clothes being shabby. I couldn't let it go. She may be the wife of an important client, but that's no excuse for such words. Instead of correcting herself, Catherine further alienated us.
This is why I hate dealing with poor subcontractors. They hardly contribute to society and come up with excuses right away. Why don't you just leave? I'll tell my husband you were here.
Her words had the sharpness to cut through my patience. I could almost hear a snap in my head. This was too much. I really felt like I might hit her. Sensing danger, I had my head down as if to hide. I didn't want her to see my face. It must have looked terrible. Understood, Catherine. Thank you for having us today. Please just tell your husband we appreciated the wonderful gathering. Catherine did not reply. It didn't matter. Now that I knew we couldn't understand each other, she was nothing more than a messenger pigeon to me. I'll take my leave now. Catherine didn't even try to apologize or offer greetings. Seeing the uncomfortable faces of the employees only fuels the fire within me even more. As I stepped into the elevator, probably for the last conversation with Catherine, I said this: "I anticipate that you'll be very busy from now on." She looked at me quizzically. It took a few days for her to understand the meaning of those words. That day, with the intention of purging all the dark thoughts that had been brewing inside me, I went bar hopping in the city with the employees. The next morning, I woke up in the factory with a slight headache from drinking too much, but it felt like I had washed away all the frustration. Checking my phone as part of my routine, I saw a myriad of missed calls. They were from Bob. I thought about calling back immediately, but decided against it. I couldn't deal with those who were involved with a woman. Quietly, I set the phone down, intending to ignore it, but the president tried reaching out through the company's phone number, not giving up despite my attempts to disconnect. Reluctantly, I picked up after many refusals were conveyed by our reception.
You finally answered. I'm really sorry. I heard from my wife yesterday. She said something awful, didn't she?
No, not at all. It was just a reminder of the differences in our social standing.
Don't say that. We're friends, aren't we?
Bob, I thought so too, which is why we've been doing business. But I can't just forget what your wife said. I think we should hold off on our dealings for a while. Please understand.
But what about the parts I requested earlier?
If data is okay, I can send that to you. Please have someone else manufacture them. If Catherine is right, there should be subcontractors capable of meeting your standards.
Wait, there's no such company.
Please, Bob, let us be until things settle down. Get by? I hung up abruptly before the president could finish speaking. After that, I think the Johnson Company went through hell. Most of their parts were manufactured by our company. After this incident, they tried to find new subcontractors, but no company wanted to undertake the intricate work required for their parts. And that's understandable. Who would want to handle parts that can't be completed without manual customization? Where could they find technicians capable of that? I knew well enough that they wouldn't find someone immediately. Later, through industry contacts, I heard about Bob's struggles.
Someone showed me the parts you make, and I'm amazed you could do it. The skills of your technicians really are a cut above. Foreign parts are a puzzle, what with the foreign language and all, and the design and materials are completely different. It's a wonder you managed to deal with them this long.
Right. So, how's the president holding up?
He's been complaining a lot. Seems like he's having a tough time. Can't even carry out the maintenance he used to, and his clients are furious. Maintenance was their strong suit, but they can't do it anymore without the parts. It's a sorry state of affairs.
Yeah, I figured as much. Despite everything, I felt a bit of sympathy.
He must be having a rough time with phone calls now. Heard about his new wife, right? She had been a problem long before with other companies and was known as a risky bet internally. Apparently, this whole affair has pushed him to file for divorce.
She was quite the nasty piece. I ended my dealings with her because of her.
You did. Just couldn't stand being looked down upon that much, huh? Nowadays, you don't need to put up with such nonsense. When she called to place an order, her condescending attitude was so unbearable that I just refused.
You really wish people would choose their words better?
They say the president is furious. So much so that since she was employed as a secretary and caused losses for the company, He's planning to sue her.
Divorce, alimony, and damages. Huh. Can't even imagine the sum?
How's he going to handle the money? Guess he'll file for damages after the divorce settlement. Really can't guess what the president is thinking.
Makes me glad I'm not married. Too terrifying to even think about it.
Got that from looking at his wife. She's just an extreme case. A normal president's wife just needs to keep a smile and be polite. That's enough. Misunderstanding her role and causing trouble for everyone is just unacceptable.
After hearing such rumors, I got a call from that lady. I didn't want to answer, but since the receptionist couldn't help me escape, I resigned myself and picked up.
Because of you, I've suffered terribly. How are you going to make this right?
I don't know what happened, but I don't think I'm involved.
If only you had shown up at that networking event, none of this would have happened. It's your fault. You should be the one to pay damages.
I'm sorry, but per our contract, we handled the design. For manufacturing, I heard from you that you knew of others, so I advised the president to rely on them.
There's no such place.
Why did she even say that? Just digging her own grave here? Not wanting to continue this conversation, I ended the call quickly. That's her own mess to fix. I think she should be able to handle that much on her own. If she's so great at looking down on subcontractors, she should be able to handle it. Later, she tried calling again, but after I warned that any further calls would be considered harassment and subject to legal action, the calls stopped. Instead, calls from Bob began to come through on my phone. Enough time had passed, so when I picked up, he shared the entire ordeal. Ultimately, unable to find the parts, his company struggled with maintenance using whatever parts they could gather, but many issues arose due to mismatched types. It was well known, but the plan was actually proposed by Catherine. Triggered by this, Bob became furious with her and filed for divorce. With a significant sum including alimony and damages, the divorce was settled. Now, Bob seems busy negotiating the financial aspects, but once things settled, he called me. Thinking about the whole situation made me feel a bit guilty.
That's the story. Now that the troublemaker is gone, could we possibly start trading again? Also, as a way to reset and apologize, let's go out to eat.
Thank you, Bob. Despite the tough times you faced, I appreciate you reaching out again. You're not to blame.
No, I am to blame for marrying such a disaster. It taught me never to marry just based on looks and resume. I hope you can take something from this too.
I'll keep that in mind. Following that, Bob and I resumed our business dealings. There were many ups and downs, but his company had been a close associate since my father's time. He was not someone to be overlooked. However, I needed him to understand something, even if it meant stopping our business, that I care for my employees like family. After his wife left, there were no more troubles, and we could provide parts and complete car maintenance. I looked at the used parts, but they were all of such poor quality that I doubted they even functioned well. I realized how much I relied on my employees. The car, having completed maintenance, comes back to life. Yeah, it's true for both companies and people alike. When you lose a crucial component, everything comes to a halt. This incident taught me a valuable lesson. I hope she learned something from this as well. The world mostly operates through subcontracting. those at the bottom work to take on jobs. Without this, the great machine of society cannot function. I was reminded of this fact. It seems the nation itself thrives on the efforts of such people. Later, I was invited back to the networking event and met various clients. My employees were able to eat their fill, and I think this time, I managed to make them happy. With new jobs likely coming in, I hope to continue valuing the connections with my clients and my employees.